So for today's video, I figured I'd do my first time. So my first tweet was hashtag fictional deaths I will never get over, Topher Brink. For everybody who doesn't know, which is probably everybody, Topher Brink is a scientist from an awesome show called Dollhouse, which I recommend you all watch because it was great. The first YouTube video I ever watched was probably some Taylor Swift music video. I don't really know. The first person I subscribed to on YouTube was Gay God. You guys should all subscribe to him. He's great. My first Facebook profile picture was a picture of my dog, I think. I'm not really a fan of all this, so I just took a picture of my boxer laying on the floor and set it as my profile picture. Do I still talk to my first love? Yes, I think so. What was my first alcoholic drink? I haven't had my first alcoholic drink. I'm not really a fan of alcohol. When I grew up, my best friend's dad was an alcoholic, so I always had a bad impression of alcohol. My first job was working as a groomer at my aunt's house. She owns a grooming shop, so I would bathe and blow dry dogs. The first person to text me today was my dad. I texted him about someone who called. He said okay. The first person I thought of this morning, I thought my friend Jessica first because she's coming over tomorrow and I remember that I have to clean everything and my house is a disaster. So, my first grade teacher, her name was Mrs. Roman and she was a really nice teacher. I liked her. Where did I go on my first ride on an airplane? My first ride on an airplane was to Florida. We went to Walt Disney World when I was like 7. It was really fun. We went again last September. That was fun. Who was my first best friend and do we still talk? My first best friend was this girl named Taylor. She moved away in 3rd grade and we never talked again. She goes to my school now, but we still don't talk. Where was my first sleepover? My first sleepover was probably at my cousins Nicole's and Caitlin's houses. My little cousin Felicity and I would always go over to their house and it was the best thing ever to spend the night. They're some of my favorite memories from when I was a kid. What was the first thing I did this morning? The first thing I did was make a bunch of pizza rolls and watch The Following, which is an amazing show. The twins right now in that show are best villains ever. What was the first concert I ever went to? The first concert I ever went to was with one of my best friends, and we went to see Falling in Reverse, and we had VIP, so we got to go in early, so we were right on the stage, and there were no barricades, and we got to meet them. They signed a poster, and we got pictures with them, and it was really fun. We went to the Roxy in Hollywood. My first broken bone. My first broken bone was when I was, I don't know how old I was, maybe 11, 12? And I was walking down the hall and my pajamas were too long, so I slipped on them and I landed on the tile and I broke my wrist and I had to go to the hospital and get a cast on Christmas Eve, and we were gonna have a big party, so my dad had to stay and get everything ready for the party, and we had to postpone it, and then my mom took me to the ER to get a cast, and then on Christmas morning I got Guitar Hero and I couldn't play for like a month because I had my arm in a cast. The first piercing I ever got was my ears. Also the only piercing I have at the moment. I went with my friend Taylor and our mom took us to the mall and we thought we were just going to go shopping, but we actually got our ears pierced and we were so excited until it actually started happening. Then I started screaming and crying and it didn't actually hurt that bad. I just looked like it would, I guess. And then we got cookies and I got this big Cookie Monster cookie with a ton of blue icing and it made me really sick and I've never eaten a cookie like that again. The first foreign country I've gone to. I've never gone to a foreign country. The closest I've gone is probably when we flew over the ocean to go to Florida. The first movie I remember seeing was E.T. I watched it with my cousin, and E.T. was the most terrifying creature I had ever seen at that point, and I hated it. I was crying and crying, but she didn't want to turn it off, so I kept crying, and I was hiding under a blanket and screaming, and then she finally turned it off, and we watched The Little Mermaid. When was my first detention? I've never really gone to detention, but I remember in elementary school they used to bench us when we did something wrong, and we would have to sit on the bench or the hopscotch things whenever we got in trouble. And I remember I got benched once because I was in the bathroom. I went to go to the bathroom, and there were a bunch of girls in there throwing toilet paper on the walls, and even though I didn't do anything, I was in there, so I got in trouble. And I was in like 2nd grade, and I just sat on the hopscotch crying all lunch. If I had one wish, it would probably be to shoot lasers for my eyes, because then you could just like look at someone and just shoot lasers at them, but because laser eyes don't exist, nobody would think that you did it. What was the first sport I was involved in? The first sport I was involved in is when I was in elementary school, I played soccer for years. And I hated going to practice, and I had elongated tendons, so I constantly sprained my ankles. So it wasn't the sport for me. What is the first thing I do when I get home? The first thing I do when I get home is probably take out my rats, because they're needy little guys. When I get home, if I don't take them out right away, they run all over the bars, and they screech, and they just go crazy until I take them out. When was my first kiss? My first kiss was from my friend when I was 5. So that was my first time tag. If you like this, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and tell me what other videos I should make in the comments below. And I'll see you next time. Bye!